the Town of Chincoteague Ordinance Committee meeting on this Thursday, July 8, 2021. Stand for invocation. Gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings, Lord. We thank you for the city we live in, Lord. We just continue to ask your guidance in the welfare, safety, and health of this great community we live in, Lord. Just be with us, guide us, and that every decision that we make be in accordance with your will and your direction for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almost on the felt like the tell the truth game where you're not sure what you understanding and such. Okay, at this time we're going to have some public comment. Teresa Hawkinsmith, would you please come to the podium and give your name and your address?
I am Teresa Hawkinsmith, and I live 8253 Seabreeze here in Chincoteague. And I addressed the town council meeting in June about a cat problem I had with a neighbor. And Mayor Leonard told me that he would bring it down to the Ordinance Committee and see if they could come up with something. I have been working very closely with, are you Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
I have been working very closely with Mike. Mike's been very receptive to my emails and has gotten back to me. I've provided him pictures. I've provided him with like sort of a case study of the whole thing, you know, what had happened. And Mike is trying his very best to settle this, but as of yet, it has not been. But we live on a lot, and then we bought the vacant lot beside us, so we'd have more green space and more fun to play. The people next to the vacant lot moved in 3 years ago, and he brought with him a lot of feral cats, and created a cat colony that we never had before. Never. We never had a cat problem. Now, he works closely with Julie Brommer with the CICC, and I heard that she and, what was the other lady? Cindy, and another lady addressed the town council the other night. I wish they'd invited me, because I have been trying to get a sit down with them face to face and talk about this. But as of yet, nobody will communicate with me, call me, or anything. Mike's about the only one I've been.
Well, if I may interrupt you for just a minute, ma'am, I did speak with Julie Bromer today, who is willing to talk to you, but she would rather you talk to Miss Burton, who is their expert in the area that you want to discuss. Julie says she'd be glad to talk to you. She just doesn't know how productive it would be, because she doesn't have the expertise to solve the problem.
Well, and
she's trying to get a hold of Alice Burton now to have a have a talk
Cindy
with you.
never responded. And I texted Julie again, and I said, Julie, I'm willing to talk to Cindy. I'm willing to talk to anybody at this point.
Who is Cindy?
Cindy is a lady that was here the other night and addressed the town council. And she is an animal control officer.
That was Alice
Alice.
Burton. Alice Burton.
Oh, Alice.
Yes.
So sorry.
No
that
problem.
was Alice.
No problem.
But yeah, I've been trying to talk to somebody. Now, this Alice and Julie were over at the neighbor's house, the one that has the cats, 2 nights ago, and never came over to our house. So I wish they'd have came over so I could explain to her and show her what we're dealing with. But I've sent Mike pictures upon pictures of cats in our yard.
Has this just now become a nuisance, or has it been going on for 3 years?
3 years.
But just
And we
now
have
it's-
tried everything, ma'am. We have tried on the internet, I mean, you name it, we've tried it. Down to purchasing plants, purchasing noise machines, purchasing.
Have you spoken to the guy himself?
At the end of the first year, Well, when they first moved in, she came over and she said, I hope you like cats. We got 11 of them. And I said, as long as they don't cause us problems, I don't have any problem with cats. But right away, poop, 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 poop. So I went over and told her, and she said that she was going to put a sand pad out back so the cats would have something. They did. It didn't last more than, I'd say, 2 weeks. That was not, they didn't do anything. But at the end, I had gotten in touch with Animal Control down at Accomack because we wanted to set traps, but I wanted to do it the right way. They told us if we use their traps and call them, that they would come out and get them. But then they said, when I called them to do this, they said, well, we don't have the manpower to do that. We can't do that anymore. So I went over at the end of the first year and told them, I wanted to talk to them very nicely and told them their cats were causing a problem. They were pooping all over my yard. My grandkids can't even go out and play. And we got blasted by the boy, the son. And I wasn't very happy because I called his cats a nuisance. Threatened to burn down our house.
Did you go to the police with that?
We sure did. The police were called, the police came, made a record of it, and all that winter, the police had to do patrol around our house just to make sure nothing funny was going on. So as far as me talking to them, it's not going to happen. They're not responsive to me at all. And I think the policeman told them at that time they weren't allowed on our property either. So it's not good communication. So the doors continue to stay open. He cut a hole in the screen. He leaves open the front one, and the cats continue to go in and out, in and out, in and out. Now we can tell which cats are his because they have collars on, but not all of them are collared. So you see, the cats are wanting shelter and they're wanting fed. They're getting it. So he's drawing in not only his cats, he's drawing in neighborhood feral cats. So is all the poop on our property his? Probably not. But the other cats are being drawn in. So it's just, it's a nuisance. I mean, every time we come down, if we go home for a week, we're from Pennsylvania, but in the summer we live here a lot. But if we go home, not even for a week, this last time we came down, this is my husband Steve, you got to pick up a whole box of like poop. And I gave that picture to Mike. I said, this is what we came down to. So I guess I'm just asking for help. You know, and I was told and I heard that they were going to put up a fence, 6-foot fence. We inquired about putting up a fence, and we were told you're only allowed 4 foot.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike told me that's a little bit lenient, right?
The 6-foot fence in town is allowed from the rear corner of your structure to the rear lot line. But it cannot come closer to the front of the lot than the rear corner of your structure. You can have 6 foot in the rear, basically, and then from the rear corner forward, you can have 4 foot the rest of the way around.
And, you know, I wonder if 6 foot, depending on the structure, is going to keep a cat out. But 4 foot, no, it's not going to happen. Because they already have a 4-foot fence in their front yard, and the cats just jump up and jump right over it. So...
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I have to wonder at this time if it would just be in our best interest if the town could send a letter to the gentleman and say, you got to keep them in. There is a nuisance ordinance. You've got to keep them inside. And if you don't, then we're going to have to take further steps, I guess. I mean,
That's the only thing that's going to work. Because if they put, let's just say they put a fence up between our lots, but leave the front and the back open, the cats are free to come and go as they please. That's going to be nothing.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you all think that? I mean,
Yeah, the other thing I might suggest too is maybe if Robbie could touch base with animal control and see if they could make a visit by there just to take a look at it.
Yeah. You know, I'm an animal lover.
Hey,
I-
we have a cat.
Yeah.
I like cats, but I
Yeah.
keep control of my
Right.
cat. He doesn't go in other people's yards
Yeah.
and poop.
Yeah.
And it's not the cat's fault. You know, I mean, it's not. If it wasn't, you know, loving cats, you know, later on it might, you know, it'll be 2 or 3 more. I mean, there's always going to be cats all over Singleton. Just the way it is. Julie and her group have done a phenomenal job of the TNR programs. If it wasn't for them, I think we would be more overrun with problems. So I'm very appreciative of how they are handling their program, and will stand by their program. I would like to see us as a town send the gentleman a letter saying, you're gonna have to do this. This is causing a problem with the neighbors, and, you know, this is what we need to do, and go from there. I don't know what else we can do right now.
Is it a gentleman that owns the property or?
No.
Or
His mom
mother owns the
and,
property?
I believe stepdad, but I'm not sure, maybe his mom, dad, or whatever, but he's like, when I say boy, I don't know how old he is, 30s probably. But he's an animal lover. God bless his heart, he's an animal lover. But not everybody enjoys stepping around poop.
I get that.
And not only on the internet, it says about how poop carry these diseases and stuff. You know, I have grandkids I bring down here. We had a big sand pit in that green space, that thing. It's all covered over with a tarp right now because they kept using it as a litter box. So I've had to like completely, not me, my husband and I have completely redesigned that lot, trying to keep it not so appealing to the cats. It's not working.
I'm gonna ask Ellen a question. Ellen, you've been around the block a time or two up here at this table. Do you know of any other suggestion besides writing him a letter and telling him he's got to keep his? You got any thoughts on it?
I can tell you what my sister-in-law does.
What?
She's got cat houses. Nice built ones too.
Mhm.
With a little porch on them, screened in and everything. And if you want animals like that, so they don't bother everybody else, that's what they need to do.
Do they stay there?
Oh, yes.
That's what you need, something.
They stay there. She has 2 houses. She's also a rescue person. When somebody has kittens or whatever, they bring them to her, she nurses them, they take them up to these pet shops and adopts them out. That's the only thing I would know how else we can control
Well,
it.
do y'all agree with having the town send this guy a letter and telling him
Absolutely
to, he's gonna have to
Do
keep
you
them
want to add
in?
anything? Do you want to add anything? Give them information that I missed?
We understand your problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she's pretty much covered everything,
Yeah.
but the fact is that
Steve, come
know-
up here.
we know that there are other feral communities on the island. There are people who are keeping cats, who make a cat house out of a shed. There's one on Mumford Street. Our niece just bought the house. There was a whole cat hotel fixed up in there. Cat houses, feed, water, everything. When they bought the house, they went to start cleaning the shed out, and some nice ladies came down the street and said, "Oh, you can't do that, our cats are gonna die, where were they gonna go?" And of course, they said, "Well, we're sorry, but we're the new owners, and we're gonna clean the place up." So where are those cats going? At night, they're out, going all over town, wherever, around the neighborhoods. You're never gonna see them through the day,
Well,
but
like,
they're sleeping, they're in the cat houses.
well,
And we know there's several others around. I mean, we've been told, and we also have experienced seeing others. The only thing to do, the catch and release, if once they're tended to and released, it's good as long as they can stay in the house. And because their numbers will diminish over the years. But as long as they're out running around, that's the nuisance.
well, I hate to tell you, but they're always gonna be running around.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
are.
so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if someone does accept the job of setting traps and catching them. If they have callers, they already have an ACMAC policy that it costs $25 to get your cat back. They don't seem to want to move too fast on that. If they catch one without a collar that is feral, if it's not trainable or not able to be released or sold to someone or whatever, given to someone, there's only one thing to do. I'm sorry to say that. Thank you.
I mean, I truly believe that Julie's, trash, neuter, return is great. I do. I truly believe that. But, I mean, this gentleman moved in, and these cats were not there to begin with. So he wasn't returning them to where they were. He brought them in.
From Julie's
Well, from whoever.
area.
We don't
They were the
know.
ones that were capturing some, getting them taken care of, and I guess they were trying to get them placed, and he's not well.
So anything you can do would surely be appreciated. Anything. And Mike, I thank you for working with me. I
No, not a
really
problem.
do.
That's my job.
You've been very tolerant of me.
I'm really, if I can say one more thing, I'm really surprised that you don't have more complaints in this in different neighborhoods.
There's a lot of cat lovers.
Okay, so we're, I guess, sending that your way to direct the.
To understand my direction, I'm to write a letter advising our neighbor, and I have the address and the name of the violation of the nuisance ordinance for animal waste, and we do have something that covers animal waste, and that they are to keep the cats under control on their property. We'll say it, something similar to that. I'm not going to tell them how that has to be done, of course,
Yeah,
but they'll have to maintain control of their animals on their property is what we'll say.
absolutely.
Mhm.
We'll go from there.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Could
you very much.
Do you have a penalty if they found in all?
The nuisance ordinance has a penalty, yes, sir, and I can't quote that to you, but there is a penalty for allowing
It's
animal
already
waste to
in place.
accumulate on other people's property as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
and
you all.
every one of
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd welcome Councilman Richardson here this evening as well. Did you have anything you'd like to address?
To get back to what Denise said, I'm serious about this little motel that, well, it's not little, it's nice. It's got carpet, it's got stuff in our phone. you know?
Donna Ray's got a whole Hilton,
Yeah.
you
A lot
know,
of people
a
do
Holiday
think
Inn.
something of them,
They,
yes.
they do. I mean, the bottom line is, you're not gonna get rid of them.
Right.
They're here. The TNR program is working great because they're not continuing to multiply.
Exactly.
But you know what? I can understand.
Yeah.
I don't want cat poop or dog poop
I
all
don't
over
wanna
my
step in
yard.
and Get it all over me.
But I don't have any sympathy if a cat is just walking across your yard.
No,
I'm not, don't come to me with that. Don't come to me because a cat has left a paw print on your car,
no.
'cause it's gonna happen. A seagull's gonna poop on your car too. But I can relate to the poop everywhere. But the cat issue is not going away. There's always gonna be cats on this island, like there's always gonna be seagulls, there's always gonna be foxes, there's always gonna be deer, there's always gonna be something. Geese, whatever. Geese are pooping everywhere. You can't go anywhere without that. You get that right where you are.
Yes, I do.
But if telling this guy, look, if you want to keep your cats, you got to keep them contained in your yard, household somehow.
That's my take on that.
Yeah.
If I want pictures, I can
Yeah.
take pictures when I'm up
I
there.
mean, it would be nice if that guy did build a kitty condo. But not everybody's going to do it. He probably don't have the money to do it. I mean, it's,
Yep.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I guess we'll go ahead and, do I hear a motion to adopt, the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion to accept and a second on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item 6, is consideration of the fill ordinance. And as everyone here is aware, back on March the 11th, we met regarding this, and we decided as a group we had the expertise to write up some documentation which would hopefully allow us to enforce this filling in that was, seemed to be causing some problems. And for anything under 10,000 square foot. And I guess, Mike, I'm going to let you talk on this a little bit as well.
As you said, Mr. Chairman, the direction was given to the Planning Commission to come up with this. Mark Batten and I sat down with this a few times, and we were able to put together this ordinance. The Planning Commission reviewed it once, asked for a few changes. We went back, made the changes, and they seemed to be happy with it. The statement of purpose pretty much says it all, and that is that the ordinance is intended to regulate the filling of land. Regulations are needed because the filling of land may pose significant land use problems, including environmentally damaging changes in topography, threat to desirable land use patterns, and/or safety or nuisance hazards. No building shall be erected on any land, and no change shall be made in the existing contours of any land, including any change in the course, width, or elevation of any natural or other drainage channel in any manner that will obstruct, interfere with, or substantially change the drainage from such land to the detriment of neighboring lands. That pretty much sums up the direction we were given originally by the council and then to the Ordinance Committee to come up with something that prevents people from filling their land and having runoff on their neighbor, or providing their neighbor a de facto drainage pond for years until they decide to build in it themselves and the neighbor gets mad. Basically, what this does, and we do have a few enumerated nuisances which deal with this very issue, and they're well written, and that basically is you cannot create a nuisance by running your water off or your stormwater, allowing your stormwater to run off on your neighbor. And everybody here is familiar with the problem. Someone fills up their land, their neighbor's property, all of a sudden gets inundated with stormwater runoff, and it's a problem. Or the shoe's on the other foot in that the first property owner filled his land up, and 20 years later the adjacent property owner wants to fill his. Well, for the last 20 years, the low lot has been receiving all of the high lot's water. Now the owner of the low lot wants to improve his property, and when he fills it up, it runs it back on the higher, the lot that was previously higher, and now that person's upset. But for the last 20 years, they've been providing a drainage pond for the neighbor. So it works both directions. Mark has been enforcing the zoning, or I should say the building code, to the effect that whenever anyone fills up their lot in connection with a building permit which is issued, he's been enforcing the nuisance regulations, which basically says you're going to take care of your runoff on your property. The ideal thing here to do, of course, is to get together with your neighbor to create the structures you need to handle the water. If you both work together, you can create it on the property line, and it occupies less of both property owners' space. But that's not always possible. So one of the problems we have with filling land is that people could fill their land and we didn't know about it until it was a nuisance. What this will do is now require them, if they want to fill their land, and there's some minimums in here, but if they want to fill their land, it requires them to come to the town and get a permit. Not because we want to put more regulations on people, and certainly not because we want to make money off this, but simply it gives Mark, or our building and zoning administrator, an opportunity and a right to look at what you're doing to make sure that you've done what you should do to take care of your own runoff. to use best management practices so that your runoff does not create a nuisance on your neighbor's property. We don't have that right if we don't require a permit to be issued in order to do the job.
Are we charging for this permit?
We will, but it'll be a nominal fee. And I'll even entertain, if you'd rather not, we can make it a free permit, but like a re-roof or something like that. We don't want it to be a burden on someone. We just want the right to be able to go in there and inspect what you're doing so that we don't end up with a problem. The minimums on this are 30 cubic yards of fill. We chose that on purpose. That's generally 2 tandem loads, or almost 2 tandem loads of fill dirt, or 2,600 square feet. That's a fair amount of property. We also made some exemptions, and these were pointed out by the Planning Commission. If someone wants to resurface their driveway and it takes 4 loads of stones to do that, that's fine, as long as you're not increasing the elevation more than 2 inches. That was brought up by a business owner, local business owners, and said, well, I put 3 loads of stones on my parking lot every year. Does that count? And no, we certainly don't want to create a problem for that. That wasn't the intention. So those are the minimums. We also made an exemption that if you have a building permit and the fill that you're doing is in connection with your building permit, then we don't require you to have a fill permit. Obviously, if you have a building permit, we already have the right to enter that property and inspect it. So, again, not making it harder on someone and certainly not trying to make it more expensive on someone. We just need to know what you're doing when you're doing it so we can make sure it's done properly. There is a prohibition on filling wetlands, which should go without saying in this day and time, but it's in there. You have to be assured that you're not filling wetlands, and if we feel that there's wetlands, Mark's going to require them to be delineated, and that's standard practice. Even if we didn't have a permit, you could not fill those wetlands. So, again, not creating any more any additional hardship on anyone. It also, I should go back to the beginning, it defines fill as a bunch of different things. Fill material, earth material, topsoil, sand, gravel, rock, stone, small amounts of clay or other materials. It covers a wide variety of materials you could use to fill with. We also made an exemption for topsoil. If you're just going to put some topsoil on your yard to increase the ability to grow grass or something like that, if you're not filling up more than that 2 inches, then we're going to say fine.
Mulch,
Mulch is fine.
how about millings?
If you're going to put millings down, that's going to fall under the category of fill material, and we're going to say yes, you need a permit. Again, now if you're putting 2 inches of millings on your driveway, okay.
I personally would not want to charge a fee for that permit. Only because I feel like that our sole purpose was just to keep it in check. You know, checks and balances there. I don't feel the need to burden somebody down with another permit, be it $20, $40 or whatever. Because the whole purpose of this was to, well, just what we're doing.
Right.
And at the same time, even though we wouldn't charge for a permit, there is a penalty for them
Right.
not a,
No, absolutely.
you know.
Without
there's
a penalty, it's
Yeah.
attached to that,
Yeah.
so, you know.
We're not charging you a permit fee, but if you don't do this, then, you know,
There will be a penalty,
there
absolutely.
will be a,
As far as, you know, we're talking about filling. This has no bearing on excavation, which could possibly result as well of
Well,
drainage on,
It could, absolutely, but if you're excavating and not filling back, you're creating your own issue. So, and as we spoke back before, once you reach the 10,000 square feet of land disturbance, you fall into a different category. You're going to have to talk to the county then, and you have to have an ENS plan, and you get into a much higher category of land disturbance, and at that point, it's the county's problem, not ours, which has always been the case, and that they follow the state code. That law follows the state code, so that's all established policy and laws. I should also say that here that if, just as in the building code, if the building administrator or the building zoning administrator does not feel comfortable with what you're doing, he has the right to require you to hire an engineer to produce an E&S plan or a drainage plan. I can't imagine that
And
on
that's
anything but a very complicated fill project.
That's at their expense, is that correct?
That's absolutely at their expense, yes. And he has the same right under the building code. If he sees something in the building code which is not, doesn't fall under a normal category, he has the right to make you hire a professional engineer or architect to design it for you so that the town is covered. And we can't envision something like that happening in this, we're talking about small potatoes here, filling a small lot or something like that, but we did put that in there in case the opportunity presented itself.
I like how this reads. I think it covers, and going to page 3, all the way at the bottom, where it's A, the very last paragraph, finished grade of land which is to be filled shall be done. If you keep on reading that, and then look at B and C on page 4 at the top. To me, that was pretty much the whole reason for this anyway.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Planning commission agreed with that.
Gives people a little bit more of a leg to stand on.
I will say that it was not easy to find sample ordinances like this.
Right.
I've been talked to a few soil erosion professionals, or land management professionals, and one of them told me, when I told him what I was looking for, he said, when you find that, let me know, because we're still looking for the same thing. Deal with smaller scale filling projects and be able to do it fairly and equitably. We were able to put something together, and we do feel like this accomplishes in a few pages what we were tasked to do. I should also say that Mark is working on a permit application. I told him to keep it as simple as possible, just require the information that he absolutely needs to make a decision on this. And he's pulling one of our other permits and just putting the very basic information on it. We want to know how much you're filling, where you're filling, the square footage, and you will be required to give us a sketch of where your property is and where on your property the fill will go, which, if you've ever seen some of the ones that come in for building applications, they can run the gamut from a CAD drawing to a sketch on the back of a napkin and a pencil, So there are no specifications of what a sketch looks like. Again, we just want to know basically where on your property you're filling, so.
If nobody else doesn't have anything, I'll make a motion to pass this to council with the understanding there'll be no permit fee. And then also, if we could get the permit as well to look at the same night, I'd make a motion to pass it on up to council.
I second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to pass this document that's been prepared for us and forwarded to us by the planning commission. And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so ordered. And I think that should take care of this. Appreciate all your work on it, Mike. I know
Thanks very much so.
it's more than Ocean. If it wasn't more than Ocean, then the county would have
Yeah.
come up with something as well, so.
It was a quick turnaround.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, Denise's comment and saying, hey, this is going to be something that's done something in the nature of my lifetime, or
Yeah. Yeah.
or whatever.
Will it be done this year?
Yeah.
Good job.
So
Thank you.
that's great. Item number 7 is consideration of the election ordinance. Mike.
Yes, sir. We even got a notification from the registrar's office from the county of Accomack that because of the change in state law, that we were required to adopt an ordinance changing our elections from May to June. Curiously enough, we don't actually have an ordinance that says that they're in May. Our charter does not say that the election is in May. However, our charter does reference in several spots new councilmen or councilpersons and the mayor taking office in the first meeting in July, which would indicate that the election had been just held in May. But we don't actually have an ordinance or a section of the charter which says the election is in May. So, given that, I wrote a simple ordinance here that says the election shall be the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, which coincides with the language that identifies the general election in November. The specific wording of this starts with the first election starting in 2022, when this would take effect. It'll be Tuesday, November 8th. At that time, you will elect 3 council persons. And the following 2 years later, you have 3 council persons and the mayor who are up. So on November 5th of 2024, you will elect 3 council persons and a mayor. And it proceeds to say that every 4 years thereafter, you will elect an additional 3 council persons and then 3 council persons and a mayor. This is the same scheme that a lot of election, and I read several election ordinances, this is the same scheme that a lot of them use. I pulled this from 2 or 3 different ordinances. I think one was Williamsburg. I pulled some from Virginia Beach and a couple from some smaller towns in Virginia, which do their elections in November. This is the way it's worded, so I feel comfortable with the legality of it. And again, I did look up the general election law for the U.S., and it did read, what we have reads consistent with that to coincide with the general election. Now, I consulted some folks about changing our charter, and I did some reading on adopting changes to our charter. Our charter, if you actually read it, I don't know when the last time you read it, but if you actually read it, there's a lot of things in there that need updating. I feel at such time as we update the charter, and that takes an act of the legislature, of course, at such time as we update the charter, I think we need to employ professional legal services of someone who can do this for municipalities and have it, we'll identify the changes and have them write it correctly. And then we have to take it to our local representatives and have them propose it as a bill going through the legislature. And I did read the, if you read the bills proposed before the legislature, the Virginia legislature for this year, several of them were charter changes for certain municipalities. So it's done all the time. This is not something unusual. But when we get ready to do that, of course, we'll incorporate the election law change in the charter.
Okay. Good.
I was very much not a fan of this.
I understand.
Whoever brought the bill before the Virginia legislature,
It was Chesapeake's representative to the
Okay.
legislature.
if I read it right, it was basically, I think they thought they would draw more people
Right.
to an election. And probably will, but at the same time, I think our little towns are gonna get lost in it all. Time will tell, but, it's here and nothing we can do about it. It's law now. But I got a question for you that maybe I should ask next Wednesday at the budget meeting, but we've always been on a fiscal year budget instead of a calendar year budget.
That's state law.
That's state law that it's
Yes,
like
ma'am.
that? Well, that's how nice it would be to.
Give me 5 minutes and I can bring it right up, but yes, that
Yeah.
is state law.
You know, the only good aspect of this is, as an incoming council person, they would actually have input into, you know, a very soon-to-be budget. So they would come in at that time where you're actually doing all your budget stuff, so, you know,
That,
I know what you're saying, it makes it
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah.
And,
that
but at the
thought-
same time,
Yeah.
it can offer some benefits too.
Yeah.
That thought occurred to me that brand new council people will come in right at the time we start doing budget for the year
Yep,
Yeah.
in January, because they'll be coming in January 1st.
yep.
So who's on that election cycle for 2022? You are, right, Jay? Yeah, Jay is.
And Chris.
And Chris.
And if you didn't know it, I think you should know it, but if you didn't know it, there'll be a special election in November for Jay's by
This
order.
November.
This November,
Right.
by order that coincide with the governor's election. And that was a special writ by the circuit court.
That's right, because the governor's election is this November.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. And an advertisement will be in the paper next Friday for anyone who wants to run. And it'll be in the legal section.
There you go, Jay. Get your paper looking.
Okay, let's move on.
I'll make a motion to pass this to council as well, as written by Town Manager Tyler.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on to council for consideration of elections. And all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Passing that on to council as well. At this time, we're opening up for additional committee member comments. Bill?
The only thing I would say is, getting back to the cats, at least we're not talking about pigs this time. But like Denise said, the Chinook Community Cats, they do a great job. And I think the way that everybody can help solve the problems of the cats is, number one, by allowing them access to their property, to retrieve cats, that type of thing, or let them know if there's, potential problems. And then, of course, financially supporting them as well. It'll help everybody out in the long run, so that's pretty much what I have.
I very much echo that. You're not gonna get rid of the problem until you take a proactive stance on it.
Yep.
I don't feel, and I could be wrong, I'm sure somebody will correct me out there in TV land, computer land, but I don't feel that we have the cat problem that we had in years
I agree.
past, because of the way the TNR programs are working. There's always going to be a nuisance with anything, just like I said a while ago, the geese, the ducks, the foxes. It's here. When it comes to wildlife like that, I mean, the bottom line is we've taken away their habitat. And that's it. We're building constantly, we're filling in everywhere, their habitat is gone. So that's my take on that. With the cats, a stray cat is no different than a stray dog, although you see more, stray cats obviously than you do dogs. But, people are taking care of them. And that program that Julie and her group is doing is definitely helping with the situation. And I totally agree with what you said. Support them, doing all we can to get control of the situation.
Okay. Councilman Allen, do you have anything to say? I appreciate your attendance this evening. And I'm kind of concurring with Councilman Cone and Councilman Bowden. I feel like they're doing a fine job, and I can't even, I can't even imagine just like what type of population we'd have on cats here if it wasn't for this group. We just gotta accept it, but at the same time, we need to respect people's property as well, and do whatever we can.
It's not easy work either. I mean, they trap them, which is a hard thing, and then take, I don't know how many, 20 or 30 at a crack to go get neutered or spayed. Then they bring them back, spend the night, then they turn them out. They got to be fed, they got to be taken care of, and all that. So it's not,
It's a process.
it is.
Yeah.
It is, and it's not cheap.
No.
It's I got mad respect for them. I'm telling you, it's not a job I don't think I could do. And it's like I said a few minutes ago to that lady, and I'll say it to anybody. It's not the animal's fault.
No.
They're like everything else. They want to be fed. They want to be sheltered.
And it's a number of people even before this organization really came here, there's a number of people on the island that have basically done the same thing.
Exactly.
And, you know, expended funds out of their own pockets.
Yeah.
And such, and,
Yeah.
and trying to help out. Okay,
I make a motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to
Second it.
adjourn and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.